I woke up at 6 like always, rolled out of bed, cracked my neck, headed straight to the kitchen. It was automatic at this point, 10 years of muscle memory. Fry the eggs, toast the bagel, grind the beans, brew the coffee. Her mug had a little chip in it, same spot for over a year, but she said it gave it character. I still reach for that one. While the coffee brewed, I ironed her blazer, navy, the one she wore when she needed to feel sharp. I packed her lunch, same as every Friday, turkey wrap, Greek yogurt, almonds, and that green juice she pretended to like. Amanda didn't stir until 6:45. She came down in her robe, yawning like she'd had a rough night, though I was the one who'd gotten maybe 4 hours of sleep. She kissed my cheek without even looking at me and reached for her coffee while glued to her phone, probably checking messages from him. "Don't forget," I said, watching her scroll. "First Friday of the month. Movie night." She nodded without looking up. "Wouldn't miss it." Then, of course, came Carter, her new boss. Always Carter. She went on about how brilliant his strategy pitch was. Carter's pushing hard for next quarter. He's got this idea that I tuned it out halfway through. I'd heard it before. Last week, the week before. Since she'd transferred to his team 4 months ago, it had been Carter this, Carter that. I gave her the same fake smile I'd been giving for weeks, pretending it didn't bother me. Pretending I didn't notice how she laughed more when she talked about work. Pretending the Thursday night brainstorming sessions that ran past 11 were just that, brainstorming. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. She finished her coffee, grabbed her purse, and checked her reflection in the microwave door. Lipstick, hair flip, Bluetooth in. She barely looked back as she walked out the door. "Have a good one," I said, more to the dog than to her. From the porch, I watched her pull out of the driveway. Before her car even reached the end of the street, I could see her talking on the phone, laughing, probably with him, the guy who'd somehow slipped into the middle of my marriage while I was still standing in it. I stayed out there another 5 minutes, holding her travel mug, still warm in my hand. Then I went inside and poured it down the sink. I stared at the phone for a long minute after the 8th call went to voicemail. Her voicemail still had that fake chipper tone. "Hey, it's Amanda! Leave a message!" Like nothing in our life had ever gone sideways. Like this wasn't our night. I set the phone down on the counter, face down, and rubbed my hands over my face. They smelled like smoke and dry rub. I'd already shut off the grill. The steaks were back in the fridge, candles out, porch lights still on. The beer in my hand was warm now, so I dumped it and opened another. I sat at the edge of the patio, just staring into the yard. Everything looked too clean. Lawn trimmed tight, chairs lined up, table set for 2. I'd even wiped down the lanterns Amanda liked. She always said string lights made the night feel softer. Didn't feel soft now. Felt hollow. I thought about texting Casey, Amanda's sister, but stopped myself. She'd just ask if we fought, or worse, lie for her. At 10:30, I walked into the kitchen and turned off the porch lights. The silence was thick. I opened the fridge, grabbed both plates, and stared at the steaks. Medium rare, dry rub only. Exactly how she liked them. I scraped one into a Tupperware and left the other on the counter. I didn't even want to look at food. The dog followed me around like she could tell something was off. I gave her a little bit of steak and sat on the couch. Didn't turn on the TV. Just sat there in the dark with my phone in my hand, like maybe it would ring if I stared hard enough. It didn't. At 11 chew, I called again. Straight to voicemail, 9th time. I finally typed out a message. "It's almost midnight. Just say something." Then deleted it. I couldn't decide if I was pissed or scared. Maybe both. Maybe neither. I just felt still, like a car stuck in the mud. At 11:15, I grabbed my keys and walked outside. No plan, just needed air. I got in the truck, turned the engine on, then turned it off. I didn't even know where I'd go. The house behind me looked like a magazine cover. Candles still flickering inside, dinner table set, her wine unopened. A fake snapshot of a night that never happened. I got out of the truck and went back inside. Called one more time. Call number 10. Voicemail. I dropped the phone on the couch and walked to the sink. Washed my hands again. Water too hot. Didn't matter. I thought about that night 5 years ago, when Amanda's mom had the stroke. How she still made it to movie night with red eyes and wet hair, holding my hand the whole time. That woman would have called. The cold in my chest didn't go anywhere. If anything, it settled deeper. I kept the house dark, just the dim light from the hallway spilling across the dining room. My phone sat on the table in front of me, screen down, like it was tired of me too. At 11:05, a ping hit the quiet, sharp enough to make me flinch. Not my phone. The shared tablet on the counter lit up. Bank alert, park view, hotel bar, and grill. 218.96. For a second, I couldn't even move. Just stared at the white glow and felt something settle heavy behind my ribs. Then I picked it up. I clicked into the account. My hand shook once, just once, when I typed the password. The screen loaded slow, like it knew what was coming and wanted to drag it out. Dinner for two, a bottle of wine, a sweet. The digital receipt had a timestamp from just an hour earlier, and right under the room, confirmation was a printed name, Carter Delaney. I froze. Not a metaphor. My whole body locked up. I stared until the screen dimmed and went black. When it did, my reflection stared back, jaw tight, eyes dead, like someone who'd been hit clean in the chest. I tapped the screen again, read it twice, 3 times. Every number burned itself into my head. 2 entrees, 1 bottle of wine, 1 room, 1 name that wasn't mine. My first thought wasn't even rage. It was stupidity. How stupid I'd been. How long I'd been letting myself believe her late nights were just meetings. How often I'd tried to convince myself Carter was just a hard-charging boss. I walked to the fridge, grabbed her favorite red, and set it on the table. Didn't open it. Just set it there like some twisted centerpiece. Then I pulled out the plate with her steak, the one I'd made with care and patience and every ounce of tradition we still had left, and placed it across from me. The cold steak I'd saved felt heavier now, like it knew. I sat down, elbows on the table, staring at the empty chair she was supposed to be in. The digital clock on the stove clicked to 11:30. I didn't pick up my phone again. Didn't call, didn't text. I just sat there and listened to the quiet. Every second dragged, stretching thin and tight like a rubber band about to snap. At 11:45, I heard a car engine in the distance. Not close enough to be hers. I waited anyway. My chest felt numb, hands buzzing like they were waking up from being asleep too long. At 11:58, the garage door groaned open. That sound, that heavy rattling grind, cut through the house like a blade. My heart didn't jump. It didn't sink. It just steadied, like my body finally picked a lane. I stood up slowly, pulled out the dining chair, and sat back down with purpose. I placed the knife and fork neatly beside the plate, straightened the napkin, and poured myself a glass of water. My movements were too calm, too precise, like someone acting out instructions. The garage door thudded shut. Footsteps. A pause. Keys jangling. I didn't hide anything. Not the steak, not the wine, not my face. I just planted myself at the dinner table with the cold food in front of me, hands flat on the wood, waiting. The door from the garage creaked open, and I didn't blink. The garage door had barely finished rattling when I heard her humming. Not nervous humming, cheerful, like she'd had a great night out with friends. Her heels clicked across the entryway, steady and careless, and then she stepped into the kitchen. She smelled like perfume I'd never bought in my life. Strong, floral, expensive, something you wear when you want someone to notice. She spotted me at the table and didn't flinch, didn't look startled, didn't even look caught. She just smiled faintly, walked straight to the fridge, and grabbed a beer. She popped the tab with her thumb and leaned against the counter like she'd just gotten home from an errand. No apology, no explanation. "We need to talk," she said. Her voice was calm, almost upbeat, and that hit me harder than the hotel receipt. I didn't move, didn't speak. I just watched her take a long drink like she was gearing up to give some speech she'd rehearsed in the car. She set the bottle down with a soft clink and folded her arms. "So," she said, exhaling, "I'm just going to say it." I stayed quiet, let her keep going. "It started a couple months ago," she said. "One late night turned into something else. I didn't plan it. It just happened." She looked around the kitchen, then right at me. "Carter kissed me in his office, and I didn't stop him. My jaw didn't move. My pulse didn't jump. I just waited." She kept talking, too easily. "After that, it kept happening, a few times in the office. Then his car," she shrugged like she was listing places she'd traveled. "And tonight, the hotel, the park view." She said it like I didn't already know. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. She took another sip and watched me, waiting for the blow-up, the epic meltdown, the screaming match. whatever she thought she deserved. "I'm not sorry, Mitch," she said finally. That line hung in the air, heavy, final. "It felt good to be wanted again," she added, looking me dead in the eye. "Really wanted." For a moment, something sharp moved through me. Not jealousy, not heartbreak, more like recognition. She'd made her choice long before tonight. I was just finally seeing it without filters. She waited. I could tell she wanted a scene. She wanted the drama, the proof she mattered enough to break me. Instead, I reached for my fork. I cut into my cold steak. The metal scraped the plate, loud in the quiet kitchen. I didn't look at her until I took the bite, chewed slowly, and swallowed. Then I said, "Hope he left a good tip." Her face twitched, just slightly, like the line landed somewhere she didn't expect. "That's it?" she asked. "That's all you have to say?" I picked up the knife again and cut another piece. "What else is there?" She blinked, frustrated now, like she couldn't figure out why I wasn't playing my part. She pushed off the counter and paced a few feet. "Mitch, come on, this is serious." "So am I," said, sliding the plate a little closer and taking another bite. I wasn't even hungry. I just wanted to take the space she thought she controlled. She stared at me, arms crossed tight, waiting for anything, shouting, begging, bargaining. But I'd already burned through all that hours ago. She finally exhaled, long and shaky, and grabbed her beer again. She took a gulp, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, and shook her head like I was the one acting strange. "You're being impossible," she snapped. I didn't blink. "You're home late," I said. "I ate without you." That hit harder than yelling ever could. She didn't know where to put it. She just stood there, clutching the bottle, breathing unevenly like she'd stepped into the wrong house. I cut one more piece of steak, lifted it with my fork, and didn't look at her again. She stood there in the kitchen gripping her beer, breathing like she'd sprinted up a hill, waiting for me to crack. I didn't. I didn't even bother watching her leave the room. I heard the fridge door shut, the faint thud of her heels moving down the hall, and then the bedroom door clicked shut like a period at the end of a sentence. I stayed seated another minute, then grabbed my plate, rinsed it under cold water, and left everything else exactly where it was. No argument, no second round. I walked down the hall, opened the guest room door, and shut it behind me. That was the whole conversation. I didn't bother undressing. I just lay on the stiff mattress staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle. Every creak hit like it was confirming something I already knew. I wasn't angry, not the explosive kind. It felt more like gears locking into place. Sleep never came. At 4 sharp, I swung my legs out of bed, cracked my back, and sat at the little fold-out desk in the corner. My laptop's glow hit my face, and for a second, I saw how empty my eyes looked in the reflection. Fine. I didn't need expression for what I was about to do. I logged into the joint account first. My fingers didn't even hesitate. I transferred every dollar that was legally mine straight into the personal account I'd opened back in August, the one I'd kept quiet on purpose because something in my gut told me to. By 4:30, I was in a rhythm. Bills reviewed, auto payments redirected. Her gym membership moved to unpaid. I shut down the savings card she used for gas. The more I clicked, the calmer I felt. Like each confirmation button was a breath I'd been holding for months. At 5:15, I froze every credit card she had access to. Watching the screen show, "card disabled" in big red text, actually steadied my pulse. She'd wake up to a very different world. By 6, I was on the phone with Evan, one of the only guys I trusted. He didn't answer right away, but he called back within a minute. "Mitch, you good?" he asked. "No," I said. "I need to meet today. Divorce talk." He didn't ask for details. "Come by the office at 9. I'll clear the schedule." I hung up and went straight to contacts. I found Casey's name, Amanda's sister, and typed, "Tell Amanda, don't bother with breakfast. I'll be busy." I hit send before I could overthink it. The house behind me stayed dead quiet. If she was awake, she didn't show it. I wasn't checking on her either. By 7:14, I'd pulled every suspicious transaction from her card history. Hotels, bars, ride shares at weird hours. Nothing hidden anymore. At 7:45, I slammed my laptop shut with a clean finality. New bank password created. Meeting with Evan booked. Evidence folder saved neatly on the desktop. I stood up, stretched out my shoulders, and headed for the kitchen. The sun was starting to push through the blinds, slicing the counter into bright and dark stripes. I grabbed a glass of water, drank it in one go, and wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. Then I walked to the pantry, pulled out the trash bags, and yanked one open with a loud snap. Time to move. I snapped the trash bag open, tied it to a chair back, and started filling it. First thing in was the chipped coffee mug, the one she claimed was her favorite. Then the wine bottle from the night before. Still full, still sealed. I didn't touch her leftovers in the fridge. That could wait. At 7:50, I heard my phone buzz. Jax. On my way. You want coffee? Bring 2, black, I replied. Jax was a buddy from the gym. Tall, loud, covered in tattoos and bad decisions, but loyal. He didn't ask questions. That's what I needed. By 8:15, the smell of bacon was everywhere. I had 3 eggs going, bacon crisping just right, and sourdough in the toaster. Her favorite, not mine, but it toasted the same either way. At 8:20, Jax knocked once and came right in. No hesitation. That's how we did things. He gave me a nod, handed over the coffee, and scanned the kitchen. Damn, he said. You cooking for a crowd? Just us. He grinned and pulled up a chair. I plated everything. 3 eggs each, 6 strips of bacon, 4 slices of sourdough, buttered and hot. No garnish, no fuss, just a sharp knife, a clean table, and a man who'd shown up. We were halfway through the meal when I heard her footsteps. Amanda came down in yoga pants and a fitted tee, hair tied back like she was heading to the farmer's market. She didn't look at Jax at first, just walked in with that usual expectation, coffee in hand, breakfast on the table, seat waiting. Then she saw us. I didn't speak. I took another bite of bacon. Her face dropped. What the hell is this? Breakfast, I said, keeping my voice flat. You missed dinner. Thought I'd eat with someone who showed up. She blinked like she didn't understand the language. Jax raised his mug. Solid toast, man. She really missed out. Amanda turned to him. And who the hell are you? He smiled like it was a challenge. Jax, Jim Crew, Mitch invited me. She looked at me, expecting me to shut it down. I didn't. You're being childish, she snapped. You invite some random guy over to, what, punish me? I shrugged. I invited someone who texts back. That landed. Her hands balled up at her sides. You don't want to do this with me here, Mitch. Trust me. I set down my fork, leaned back a little, and met her eyes. Then go upstairs. She stared like she couldn't believe the rules had changed. Like she was still waiting for the version of me who tiptoed around her moods. Jax kept chewing, loudly. Amanda huffed, spun on her heel, and stomped out. I waited for the slam. Right on cue, the bedroom door shook the frame. Jax sipped his coffee. So, that the wife? Not for long. He nodded. Cool. You want the last piece of toast? I pushed the plate toward him. Take it, I said. She won't need it. Jax left around 10, gave me a solid pat on the back and said, text me if you need help dragging out a body. I cracked half a smile. I'll be fine. Just trash and lies to sort through. The second the door shut, I grabbed a roll of packing tape and walked straight to the bedroom. She stayed upstairs. Didn't come out. I didn't wait for her. I had 2 days and zero intention of sharing another square foot with her. Her side of the closet, cleaned out by noon, all those color-coded hangers, the shoes she lined up by heel height, her stack of work blazers, gone. I didn't fold anything. I shoved them into boxes like I was clearing out a stranger's leftovers. Bathroom was next. Her lotions, her hair straightener, her expensive skincare routine that sat untouched half the time, into a trash bag, then a second. I left her toothbrush in the sink, snapped in half. Petty? Maybe. Honest? Definitely. By dinner time, the guest room looked like a UPS depot. I didn't eat, didn't sleep much either, just kept moving. My hands didn't stop, and neither did the clarity. Sunday morning, I rented a storage unit 5 miles out. Climate-controlled, secure, 1-month rental, paid in full. Loaded everything into the truck by myself. 6 trips, bruised my wrist, didn't stop. When the last box hit the storage floor, I snapped a photo, sent it to her with the message. Your things are in storage. Here's the code. I'll pay for 30 days. It took her 10 minutes to respond. You're making a mistake. I didn't hesitate. Already did. 12 years ago. She didn't text back after that. Not right away. Monday rolled around. I had coffee in one hand, my phone in the other, when Evan called. You're gonna want to hear this, he said. Carter Delaney's out. HR moved fast. I blinked. Wait, fired? Terminated. Code of conduct violation. Got the full breakdown this morning. I didn't even have to ask. I knew what pushed it. I'd sent a neat little anonymous packet to their company tip line on Sunday night. Screenshots, bank statements, and a PDF copy of the employee manual with the relevant section highlighted, all labeled for internal review. Before lunch, I forwarded that same policy doc to Amanda with the subject line, "Thought you should read the fine print." She called within 20 minutes. I declined. She called again an hour later. Declined again. Third time, I just watched the screen light up and go dark. She didn't leave a voicemail, didn't send a follow-up, just silence. Good. I walked out to the porch, sat down with a beer, and looked out at the lawn I'd mowed 2 days ago. Even in the quiet, I felt solid. The house felt like mine again. Not shared space, not split life, just mine. My phone buzzed one last time that night. "Casey, she says you're being cold," I typed out. "Tell her I'm being done. There's a difference." Then I shut my phone off, leaned back in the chair, and cracked open another beer. The second beer was half gone when I heard tires on gravel. I looked up, expecting Jack's. Instead, it was a black SUV pulled halfway into my driveway before stopping. The driver's door opened and a woman stepped out. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled tight like she didn't have time for anyone's crap. She walked right up to the porch like she knew where she was going. "You Mitch?" she asked. "Yeah." She extended her hand. "Denise Delaney." I didn't need her to explain. I already knew. She sat down without waiting for an invite and pulled a folded receipt out of her purse. Parkview Hotel, same date, same charges, same room number I'd seen. "I found it in his coat pocket," she said, laying it on the table between us. Then I found his resignation letter, not addressed to me, of course. I nodded once. "Figures." She looked out at the street, then back at me. "They always think they're smarter than us." I couldn't argue with that. "He's staying with his brother now," she added. "Not sure for how long. Probably until he screws that up too." We sat in silence for a minute. Then she stood. "Just wanted to see the guy who broke the match before I did," she said. "I didn't break anything," I said. "Just stop pretending it wasn't already on fire." She gave a tight smile. "Fair enough." After she left, I went back inside and checked my email. That was a mistake. Amanda's name sat at the top of my inbox. The subject line was nothing. Just, "Hey." I clicked it open. 10 paragraphs. Guilt, apologies, nostalgia dressed up as regret. Lines like, "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely too. We were good once, weren't we? You always took care of everything." I closed it without finishing. She'd moved out to a rented duplex about 15 miles west, near the highway. I didn't go look. Didn't care what it looked like, how small it was, what furniture she took. I only cared that she wasn't here. Word got back to me through Casey that Amanda had gone back to her old job. Entry level, the same desk she'd sat at 10 years ago. No team, no title, no Carter. She'd earned that. That night, I made myself a steak. Medium rare, dry rub only. Old habits maybe. But this time, I cooked it for me. Sautéed green beans, buttered mashed potatoes, a glass of red, the kind I actually liked. I didn't even set a second plate. I brought it all out to the porch and ate in the same chair I'd been sitting in when Denise showed up. Crickets were loud. The sky was that soft kind of purple you only get in fall. I ate slow. No rush, no talk, no one asking for anything. Just quiet. I scraped the last bite of steak off my plate and leaned back in the chair. Belly full, head clear. For the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't waiting on anyone. The next morning, I rolled up the garage door and stared at the mess. Paint cans stacked in corners, rusty tools, shelves packed with junk I hadn't touched in a decade. Amanda always said we'd get around to it. We never did. By lunchtime, I had everything hauled out. By the end of the weekend, it was a different space. Clean, wired up, and mine. I picked up a used workbench from a guy across town, bolted it to the far wall, mounted some lights, and started rebuilding things that didn't need fixing just to see if I still could. Turned out I could. I took side gigs again. Handyman stuff. Replaced a busted sink for a neighbor. Hung drywall for a buddy's basement. Nothing major. Just enough to keep me moving and remind me I still had something useful in my hands. I started running again too. First half-mile damn near killed me, but I kept at it. By week 3, I could do 4 miles without puking. Dropped 15 pounds. Gained back some self-respect. Friday night stopped being quiet. I started hosting poker, ribs on the grill, speakers playing outlaw country, deck chairs full of guys with calloused hands and cold beer. No drama, just laughs, loud music, and meat falling off the bone. The kind of nights I used to wish for when Amanda was working late. Jack showed up every time, sometimes early, always with beer. Never once asked how I was doing. Just grabbed a plate and dealt the cards like nothing ever happened. That's why I kept inviting him. Midway through the second month, I joined a co-op that helped vets teach trade skills to younger guys. Welding, plumbing, basic carpentry, stuff they don't teach in schools anymore. I didn't know everything, but I knew enough to help. First time I saw one of those kids fix a busted door frame with his own hands, I felt something crack open in me. Not grief, not pride, purpose. It stuck. One night, I was out back manning the grill. Ribs, slow cooked, sauce thick and sticky. The fire was perfect. Beer in one hand, tongs in the other, smoke curling into the sky. My phone buzzed. Voicemail. Amanda. I didn't listen. I just stared at her name for a second, thumb hovering over it. Then I hit delete. No hesitation, no pause. Deleted it while flipping the ribs. Later that night, Jax asked if I wanted to throw on a second rack. I nodded, handed him the tongs, and went to grab more from the fridge. I passed the hallway mirror without looking. I didn't need to. I knew who I was again. And it wasn't the guy waiting at the window for a woman who never came home. It was the guy who learned how to make his own dinner, fix his own house, and cut people loose without bleeding for it. The guy who started over, not because he had to, but because he could. The house was quiet except for the drip of the coffee maker. 6 months to the day since Amanda walked in smelling like hotel soap and betrayal, I stood in the kitchen, pouring black coffee into a plain white mug. No sugar, no cream, just strong and simple, like I liked it now. Same kitchen, same tile floor, same chipped counter near the sink, but it felt different, cleaner, lighter, like someone had peeled the rot out of the walls without touching the paint. The table was empty except for my laptop and a folded note. I didn't need to open it. I already knew what it said. Jax had left it there last week after poker night, written in his awful block letters on the back of a napkin. Proud of you, man. Never lost your cool. Taught me a lot. I read it twice that night. Thought about it more than I wanted to admit. Now, I grabbed the note, walked out to the fire pit, and tossed it in. Watched it catch and curl, flames licking the corners until it was just smoke and ash. Not out of anger, just time to stop holding on to stuff that already served its purpose. Back inside, my phone buzzed on the counter. A message popped up. Hey, looking forward to coffee later. 3 Mars still good? Tracy from the co-op. No pressure, no expectations. Just a normal, decent woman who followed through and didn't ghost when life got real. I smiled, typed back, see you then. Simple, clean, honest. I looked at my contact list, scrolled past Amanda. Still saved, still there, like a crack in drywall you get used to ignoring. Not anymore. I held my finger down until the option appeared. Delete contact? Yes. Gone? She didn't exist in this version of my life. The version that made coffee without waiting for someone to roll their eyes and complain it was too bitter. The version that didn't chase texts or explain absences or sit in driveways wondering who the hell they became.